when you finish something like this, when you've been at it for such a long period of time, you've worked tirelessly. We did all sorts of sailing and 33 footers here when we first started learning cats. With our design and development phase. All sorts of other design projects. The 72 sailing we did here, we did over 120 days, I think, of AC72 sailing, and then all of a sudden it's over. You basically you work all the way through until the final race. You actually don't give a thought about what will ever happen after that, whether win or lose. And when you do finally finish, then it's just like the body just suddenly just shuts, goes into shutdown, and I think all the emotion, dealing with all the nerves, the tension, just knowing you're always sailing these boats on the edge of control, and I guess knowing you're responsible for the lives of 10 other guys on the boat. Every time you leave the dock, it's just, I think it's all those things that you never really talk about or express, but it's just all built up inside you, and then suddenly it's over, and dealing with it is one of the hardest things.
Do you want to do it again? Dean Barker answers that question and addresses the urgency of keeping the team together and funding a new challenge when we come back.
We basically have a very small window of opportunity, and without the money to be able to get going again very quickly, we lose the people. And if we lose the people, then there is no Team New Zealand.
Do you want to do it again?
There's one thing that is absolutely certain, is that Team New Zealand needs to continue. It's an amazing team, and it has such a strong culture, has unbelievable ability, and in the end it's the people that are involved in the Cup, or within Team New Zealand. We're in a process now, or a stage now, where decisions have to be made to allow the team to continue, because we've already had guys targeted by other teams.
So in the days, not even a week since the America's Cup ended, there have already been approaches to team members?
Yeah, and the strength of our team is the guys that we've got, and if we start losing people now, then the team will it won't have the ability to carry on.
Who are the approaches from?
We know Artemis is already, they've been involved in approaching people, and there's other teams which seem to be making approaches as well. So it's tough. It is very, very tough. You're sort of still trying to regather yourself or compose yourself after what we've just been through, and then the vultures are already sort of circling.
That was rather nicely typical of you, because I asked you if you wanted to be involved again, and you talked about the team and how important it was to save the team, which is a nice thing, Dean. But can I have another crack at that question about you personally?
I wasn't trying to avoid it, but look, I would love to have another chance to work with Team New Zealand again, and I've given my heart and soul to this team, and I'm a very proud New Zealander, and I would love to be part of Team New Zealand again in the future. In the end, it's not my decision, and if the team does continue and there's an opportunity for me to be involved, then I will, yes.
Have you spoken to Grant Dalton? Does he feel the same way?
I talk to Daltz whenever I can. He's hurting. I can assure you of that. He's still up in San Fran. He flies back tonight. He's hurting like I've never seen him hurt before. And again, it's just it's the passion and it's the effort that he's put in personally to try and make this team successful. Without him and his leadership style, I think the team wouldn't have achieved anything that it has up until this point.
How much do you want to win the America's Cup?
It's it's my whole reason for living. It's everything that I do is about America's Cup, and all the sailing I do, it's about trying to be as best prepared to go and skipper and lead our sailing team. So it's a passion that has been burning for a huge amount of time, and it's what I want to do.
I want to talk about Russell Coutts. I don't know who he said this to, and I don't know how verbatim the quote is, but he is quoted somewhere, I think the New Zealand Herald, or maybe the Otago Daily Times, as saying that he hasn't ruled out coming back to Team New Zealand. How would you feel about that?
Well, the first thing you've got to say is that his record speaks for itself. He's obviously one of the he's the most successful guy ever in the America's Cup with what he's achieved. In terms of whether there's an opportunity for him to be involved in with Team New Zealand, well, that's sort of it's very hard to say, because we have a structure which which is determined. It's whether he would it's actually is meaning what he's saying, who knows, but he's obviously looking for other opportunities now. I haven't spoken to him, so I'm not really sure what his plans are, but I'd say it's probably very unlikely.
That was you may not have been very good at rugby, but that was masterfully kicked for touch. I guess now people are looking at you and thinking, do you get more money? It's a discussion the government's got to have. That's a discussion some of your sponsors have got to have. That's a discussion maybe the taxpayers, the people of New Zealand have got to have. Why do you think you should? What is the pitch for the funding to come now that can and will make Team New Zealand survive?
We basically have a very small window of opportunity, and without the money to be able to get going again very quickly, we lose the people. And if we lose the people, then there is no Team New Zealand. And I think we know that this team can be successful. We've been very, very close this time. You look where we've come from since 2003, with the battle hardness, the ability to understand where we maybe came short the time before, and then the time before. We've built up a long way since then. I think the team is so much stronger than it's ever been. Team New Zealand, in my opinion, it needs to continue, but we only have a very small window to allow that to happen, and if we don't act, the team will, it won't be able to continue.
And after everything you've been through, all the hope, all the wanting, all the work, all the passionate intensity, the way you have given your life to this, and then the terrible, awful disappointment, you want to be part of it.
Absolutely. I've invested everything into this team. Emotionally, it's very, very tough, and it's still going to take some time to turn things around. But it's it's my life.
Thanks, Dean Barker. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, John. Cheers.
Dean Barker, Team New Zealand skipper. That interview filmed at the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron this afternoon by our cameraman Cam Williams and Grant Findlay. Grant, who did such a stunning job up in San Francisco when we were up there. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Welcome back, everyone. Your feedback now on the Dean Barker interview. Team New Zealand, lots of you wanting some sort of fund so you can contribute. This from Kevin. We must have Team New Zealand back for the next challenge. The government must put up some dollars. 72% of your viewers voted in favour the other night, and I was one of them. Good on you, Kevin. Thank you. I put up $100. How many other passionate Kiwis would do the same? A lot, I think. And we can't have an Aussie boat full of Kiwis win it. No, that would be somewhat galling, Kevin. I agree. Go, you good things. We appreciate all the efforts you made and the anguish you were suffering, but you weren't beaten by better sailors, just deeper pockets. I hope you can raise the strength to challenge again, says Jane. I think the country should get behind you and raise the money for another challenge. Hayley and Chris, right. Team New Zealand have unfinished business. They must sail in the next America's Cup. And Renee says, it breaks my heart to watch Dean Barker talk about the Cup. He doesn't say it directly, but you get the sense that he feels he's let the whole of New Zealand down. Dean is a gentleman and he needs to hold his head up high. The Cup was won by technology and not salesmanship, if that's a word. Daryl says Team New Zealand should come back for the next Cup. Barker, Daltz and the boys did the country proud. They unified the country. Morning start-up meetings were delayed. Class rolls were called well after 9 a.m. Weekend sleep-ins halted and everyone from 6 to 66 and older, I would respectfully suggest, Daryl, had Team New Zealand on their mind. I even forgot my beloved counties, Manukau Steelers, how they were doing. Bloody well, actually. Daryl, come on, New Zealand. Get behind this team. Get behind Dean. Still leaning. Still leaning. Lean with Dean, lean with Dean. It's because I can't pre-read these things, ladies and gentlemen. It's just hopeless. That's it for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for your feedback and for watching. Ka kite anō, and a very good evening indeed.